Jason Harrelson, and today we have Mark Bobnick here in the Harrelson Trumpet Shop. And Mark and I are going to be discussing his life with trumpet. Mark is the trumpet specialist and the manager of the Pro Shop, which is the largest trumpet shop here in the Midwest. And that's right here in the Twin Cities, the Schmidt Music Shop. And Mark, it's good to have you.
Thanks, sir. This is great to be here today.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you could come in so early. It's a Monday morning, and Mark just let me know he played 4 gigs over the weekend. So
it's a good weekend. It was hot outside here in the Twin Cities, about 98 yesterday, and playing outside for private parties, and it was a little sweaty. So
I can imagine. Yeah, when it gets hot and humid here, it's almost unbearable to play. So we prefer the indoor gigs, but that's ironic because it's so cold all winter.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. I used to do funerals in the Army band, but we had the plastic mouthpieces, and we could play all the way down to 1 degree. So it was like, well, at that point, I might as well play when it's 10 below. So
right.
So I played in all weather. Yeah.
Nice. So give us a little history of your trumpet playing career, because I know you've done a lot of things. And
sure. Recently, something I'm really excited about, and it was just great connections here in the Twin Cities. Doc Severinsen put together his big band again, and he's been touring the country. We have another one coming up here September, October, right before Thanksgiving, and he has another one planned in next April. So I've been on the road with Doc, and he loves the Twin Cities musicians, so he hired Twin Cities trumpet section and trombone, and Mary Louise Knudsen, a rhythm player, piano player here in the Twin Cities. It's just been a blast, so it's been a highlight of my career to work with one of the greats of all time.
Nice. Yeah, and I understand Doc is, of course, playing just as strong as ever.
He sounds incredible, and as the tour goes on, when we leave, he's ripping G's and A's, and by the end of the tour, he's still hitting double C's. So, and he just turned 86 this summer. It's incredible.
Wow, that's amazing, really. You know, it's interesting because a few of my favorite trumpet players are the same age as Doc.
Wow.
There's a guy right here in the Twin Cities, maybe you know him as Harry Reiner.
I just met Harry, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Harry's a great player, and he can sound just like Harry James. And he comes into the shop every 2 or 3 weeks just to hang out and play. And he always wants his mouthpiece open one more size. He's 85 or 86.
He's got a huge sound. He came in the trumpet shop and was just playing a few horns the first time I met him. And it was deafening in a great way. He's just, I can't believe he has that much power at 86.
Yeah, well, he and Doc, and I know Zig doesn't play, but Zig Canstel is in
wow,
it.
sure.
So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I think Jerry Callett, I don't remember, he's in his mid-80s too.
He is.
And he's still pushing strong.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Staten Island, right? I think he's got his little shop out there.
Oh, yeah.
I did a lesson with him a long time ago, so I think he's getting up there.
Yeah, I saw him a few months ago, and he's just as funny as ever. So earlier in your career, like when you were, I guess just starting trumpet, what got you so interested in trumpet?
My dad, I listened to big band music growing up. My dad's a huge fan of big band, and mostly Harry James. He loves all the big bands, but his idol was Harry James. He has every album. He's done artwork. He's a retired advertising illustrator, and so he's done paintings and listened to Harry his whole life. So I grew up listening to that every day, every morning. The music was on, and in about the summer before 7th grade, he started me on trumpet, and he taught me my own lessons. And then I got to Nicollet Junior High in Burnsville here. And that's when it all started. So my dad started. Yeah.
Wow, very nice. So your dad was a trumpet player?
He played through college in several big bands. Played with the great Bud Brisbois back in the day, and then Bud took off and did huge things, obviously. But yeah, my dad still has a Selmer balanced model that's been refinished, and it's Harry James model with the balanced valves and everything.
Right.
So yeah, he's a walking encyclopedia of big band jazz. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I think it'd be really cool to have that kind of mentor right there in your own house.
Absolutely. And listening to that music every day, a lot of kids, when I do lessons, I'll ask, well, who are you listening to? And a lot of the students today, well, I don't know. I don't really listen to anybody. I think growing up listening to big band trumpet since I was a baby, I had a concept of what trumpet was supposed to sound like, and it really helped me take off from there.
Right. Very cool. So was there ever like a pivotal moment in your life where you thought, I really am going to go full force and perform for a living?
I think it was about my junior year in high school at the Minnesota All-State. My first year was with Bob Baca from Eau Claire, came over and he did it. And then Fred Stern was my senior year. I knew he was the All-State director. Those two giants of jazz and education really motivated me. a lot of other people along the way, obviously, but those two, I just realized this is incredible. These two, they're geniuses, they're amazing players, and Fred's one of the greatest writers I've ever worked with. And for those two guys, Allstate for me was when I kind of realized, I want to do this.
Nice. Yeah, I've played with Bob Baca a few times, and he's huge in education, but he has a very specific way of getting people through, I guess, the technique and the embouchure side of trumpet, and it seems to really work because, I mean, around here in the Twin Cities, there must be 1,000 people I know that study with Bob and,
Yes, absolutely.
and swear by his methods. So.
Well, he's so generous, he still does a lot of the shows that come through in the pit orchestra, and he'd say, oh, Mark, yeah, I'm playing whatever, come on down and sit in the pit with us, and you can kind of audit the show. And so I'd go down there once in a while, and then in the basement of the order, I remember like going down the stairs and there were swinging lights. It was kind of a stereotypical basement. And we played together a couple times, and that was in like 10th grade in high school. So it's an amazing experience when you're that young.
Yeah, another great mentor.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, so what did you do right after high school?
I went to the University of Minnesota for about 5 years and got an education degree and studied with David Baldwin. It was a great experience there. David, he loves early jazz, a lot of Bix Beiderbecke, but everything is, he's the Clark master and the cornet master. And so it was a great kind of relationship for 5 years, and I owe a lot of my success to him. Technique, foundations. And then after the U of M, I went and did a master's degree at Eastman in Jazz and Contemporary Media with Fred Sturm. It was kind of a nice thing for my audition there to walk in. There's Fred. It always helps.
Nice.
So those two experiences at school were incredible for me.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, David Baldwin, I've always loved listening to him play cornet because to me it sounds like it's such a natural instrument for him. So, did you work on cornet solos with him?
Not a whole lot. Once in a while, we did some natural trumpet things, and I really learned a lot about piccolo trumpet from David. I did almost a half recital on piccolo. Spent about 2 years on it, and to this day, I really enjoy playing piccolo, even though most of my career is jazz and commercial pop music. So I still enjoy playing weddings, and it's I learned all that from David. Incredible teacher and player.
Nice. And then after college?
Actually, I was in a lesson with Clay Jenkins at Eastman, and the phone rang, and I think it was meant to be. It was the West Point Jazz Nights at West Point, obviously the U.S. Army Band calling, looking for a lead trumpet player for the Jazz Nights. And I went down and auditioned, talked to him on the phone at my lesson, and went down and auditioned. They waited a year for me to finish my degree, and it was just really cool of them. And auditioned, got in, went to basic training, threw a few grenades, shot a few rifles, and then just played trumpet for about just under 5 years. It was a really nice gig, paid for my student loans, and a great experience there.
Nice. So you'd recommend military bands?
Absolutely. By the time I was leaving there, just over 5 years, we had guys auditioning for the Hellcats, which was drum and bugle corps, the concert band, and the Jazz Nights, from Juilliard, Eastman, NEC, USC, Miami, to heavy players looking for gigs and getting their loans paid. And a lot of players stay there their whole career. 20 years goes by fast. I'd be probably at about 10 or 15 years now if I had stayed in, but it wasn't meant to be. But it was a great 5 years and a great start to my career.
Sure. And then you came back to Minnesota?
Yep, and I taught high school for about 3 years at an art school here in St. Paul, which was just a blast. Got to use my ed degree for 3 years. And then Schmidt opened the trumpet shop, and that just was really enticing and kind of a neat deal just to be immersed in what we do. It was like learning a new degree, all the different specs, and through you've been a mentor with Venturi and all the subtleties. And so it's been an incredible experience with Schmidt as well.
Nice. So, how long has the Schmidt store been open? And tell us a little bit about it for people who have never known about it.
Sure, the Schmidt Company has been around. I wish I had the exact year. I should know it by now. But since the late 1800s, it started as a piano store. It's always been a piano company. So they're one of the only Steinway dealers in the upper Midwest here. We have several stores in the Metro, Omaha, North and South Dakota, Wisconsin, and several in the Twin Cities here, also Duluth and Fargo. So we kind of cover the upper Midwest here. Our store is the only one that there's a saxophone pro shop, which was the first one, the trumpet shop, now there's an orchestra shop, and I think that kind of concept is going to be expanding, which I really enjoy. So we're kind of putting together a trombone room right now. We'll see how that goes. And, I think it's incredible. If you can get the right person in the shop, Both sax pros at our store are just incredible players and really knowledgeable. I hope I'm doing all right in the trumpet shop, but I really enjoy that. You want somebody in there when you go to select a horn that knows what they're talking about. And so this concept for Schmidt is a really cool idea.
Well, I think it's a great idea for many reasons, but you know, a lot of retail and family businesses have been fighting with the whole internet thing and internet sales and people trying to find the lowest common denominator. They say, oh, I want a Bach. Let's go to the internet and find the cheapest Bach. And then when they buy it, there's no support. Maybe the horn isn't the way it should be. And unfortunately, you know, spending less is what some people prefer, but I truly believe that you get a lot more when you go to a really nice shop. But of course, the Trumpet Pro Shop is just amazing because you can go in there in that place, and we'll probably play a couple little snippets in this interview off to the side where we can show that shop. But I mean, really, Mark, you have just the most incredible array of instruments, of brass instruments in there right now, and I think it's just beautiful. I mean, of course, I represent one brand, but tell us about the others. What else do you have?
You know, it's impossible as far as inventory to carry everything, but we've kind of pared down over 3 years what doesn't sell. You know, it's interesting when you get it all together. There's certain horns that just don't compete anymore, so to kind of move those out. So at the moment, we have a huge selection of Bach in the Twin Cities, and I think throughout the country, most band directors just say go get a Bach or a Yamaha, start there. So of course you have to have those. So all the Xenos, the custom horns, the Bobby Shoe, Yamahas, all of the Bachs and multiple versions of the Bachs. So the Artisans, several 37s, reverse lead pipe, lacquer finishes. So between just those two manufacturers, there's probably 30 horns on the wall from Bach and Yamaha.
Nice.
A new one for me, not right now, but when I started in the shop was B&S, making great trumpets. They're priced well, and they've been really good to us. So we have about 6 or 7 of those in it all the time, and they've sold well for us. Of course, your horns, we have more than anybody, which is great. They're selling, just this spring we started, right? We finally got them in, and they're selling great. So and it helps that I play ones, because I love them so much. And Shire's trumpets, we've gone heavily into those, and Stephen A. Shire's has been good to us, and that company's been good. So that's how I met Doc for the first time, so a nice connection there.
Right.
Those are all just the B flats. There's usually about 20 used on the wall, and that allows me to get Canstall and other models, you know, brands that I normally wouldn't have in. And then on the other wall are all the same, you know, Yamaha, Bach, B&S, but about 15 C trumpets, 5 piccolos at the moment, about 7 flugels, and 3 E flat and Ds. It's an amazing shop, you know. Where can you go try 3 E flat trumpets in the Metro or the Midwest? I don't know. It's pretty cool.
You know, when you say that, actually, I would say even in the whole country, because I travel the country quite a bit, and even the shops in New York and in LA, typically you don't find a really nice representation, especially the merchandising where you've done it. It looks so nice, but they have all those instruments in working condition on the wall. I'm not going to name any shops, but there are some on the East Coast that have a lot on the walls, but they're old, broken horns, a lot of them. And everything you have on there is very high quality, and it's worth every penny. So if you're looking for any type of horn, I would truly recommend checking out the Trumpet Pro Shop and talking to Mark. So back to performing, like what kind of performing are you doing now?
Other than about twice a year playing with Doc, there's usually 2 to 3 week tours. I play in the Twin Cities. Really, if it pays right, I'm there playing, but I mean, I think we're all in that bag. But I don't do a whole lot of orchestral playing. I do some weddings and maybe some section parts in orchestra. But mostly it's big band jazz, an occasional jazz combo, because my background is in lead playing, and party bands. I really enjoy playing the Blood, Sweat, and Tears and playing the weddings and things like that. And they pay well too, so it's energetic. It's a great chance for me to play lead and solo. So I really enjoy playing with the party bands in town.
Yeah. So are you still playing in pits?
I do that once in a while. I'll sub for one of the great trumpet players in the Twin Cities. Bob Hallgrimson is the principal. He's the only trumpet, but he's been out at Chanhassen Dinner Theater for a long time. And every once in a while I get an opportunity to sub for him in the shows. So, yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great venue because, you know, it's not a huge theater, so then it's kind of intimate audiences.
Yeah, it's neat because most shows you're actually on the stage, you're part of the show, you have a costume on, and the actors come up and kind of goof with you, so it's better than just actually sitting down in a pit, so you're part of the show.
Right, yeah, that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, in all your years of trumpet playing, and of course you have a lot of experience, do you have any tips or ideas or like little bits of wisdom you'd like to share with young or old players watching?
Sure. You know what? A concept that I think I learned early on, and I'm glad I did, was being the most versatile player that you can be. I think, unfortunately, and I know every market is different, but in the Twin Cities, gigs are shrinking a little bit, and there's more trumpet players than ever, and it seems like the quality keeps going up as far as players. So it's really, really competitive. You have to put your time in and network correctly, but you also have to be able to play everything. And that's why I just said, even though I don't do much orchestral playing, I think I can fit in just fine in an orchestral section. I'm not a principal player, but I'll blend just fine in a section like that. And once in a while, when those come up, I'll be in there. If I have to play, I just did a combo gig with one of the great piano players in town, Chris Lomheim, and did my best to hang with him. But I can still play changes and solo adequately. But the lead playing for me, I'm not just a lead player. I like to share parts, so sometimes I'll play solo parts and sometimes I'll play lead. I'll play weddings, and I'm fresh on my piccolo and C trumpet playing if I have to do Christmas and Easter gigs. So I think you have to have that broad spectrum of all styles and know them really, really well, not just be a jazz guy versus orchestral.
I completely agree. My history as a trumpet player, obviously everybody's history is different, but I've had to play quite a bit of orchestral and brass quintet stuff, a lot of piccolo and high trumpets for weddings, and then of course the whole rock and roll thing. I've done quite a bit of that kind of thing. But then when it comes down to jazz, a lot of people I think overlook that you can learn the changes and that you can learn to play lead, and of course that you can become really good at being a section player too, because they're all important.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, at least for me, I usually play lead or the solo share, but for years I had to play third or fourth. Sometimes that was the hardest stuff that was out there. You're playing crazy fingerings down low, and it can be more difficult. So.
I think the third trumpet part, the sing. It's just like
I was just going to say that.
Twister.
I hate that one. Yeah. But yeah, it didn't do it. Just so. I guess of all the different types of music you play and everything you've listened to over the years, is there any like one or two or just a few different snippets of trumpet solos that you've heard or your favorite recording that you think, wow, everybody needs to hear this because you're going to gain either some kind of inspiration or technical something? Or is there anything you would share?
My two favorites, I know my dad wants to say Harry James, who I think is one of the greatest players of all time, but what I actually enjoy listening to and just can't get enough of is Clark Terry and Lee Morgan. And the cornbread solos and the sidewinder, I love that because it's kind of a mix of pop, but it's incredible jazz. And I think Clark Terry is one of the greatest blues players to ever live on trumpet. And those two, if you can learn their solos and their vocabulary and their technique, you listen to Clark Terry and he's up around high G and A playing bebop lines. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So those two guys for me, if you can check out their solos, there's transcription books that have a lot of Lee Morgan solos in there. If you don't have time to transcribe, which I don't with two daughters and gigs and stuff, so it's just nice to have a book you can open up and go in some vocabulary. But for me, those two are my favorites and have really influenced me.
Nice. Yeah, I love Sidewinder. It's just like that whole album. It has a groove to it that makes you want to just like get into it and not ever turn it off.
Absolutely.
And when I picked up the horn and played it out, I'm just like, look out! I can't put the horn down. And then Clark Terry's crazy in how well he can play. He can play lines like 3 octaves up and down. He's like, and it's like it all flows through the whole range of the instrument.
With his pitch bending and his range and just technique, he just really manipulates the trumpet to do whatever he needs.
Well, and even his singing, it's not only amazing, but it's hilarious. He's such an entertainer too. Yeah. So great. Well, and thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
And we'll probably have some more time together in some future interviews and things.
I look forward to it.
Mark and I work together quite a bit because, of course, we build horns for Schmidt Music. And, of course, we know a lot of the same people in Twin Cities. So thank you again for coming.
Thanks, Jason.
All right.